Chapter 12. Embracing the Rhythm of Ministry. As we step into this chapter, it feels right to pause and give thanks. Ministry is never a solitary endeavor. It is sustained by countless unseen hands and hidden acts of generosity. A smile at the church door, a whispered prayer, a shared meal, or even the simple gift of listening, each of those moments becomes part of God's tapestry of care. Scripture reminds us that whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones will not lose their reward. Matthew 10 verse 42. To offer water to a prophet is more than an act of hospitality. It is a recognition of God's presence at work in another's life. These small gestures of kindness, often overlooked, carry eternal weight. They are living reminders that nothing given in love is ever wasted in the service of God. As we turn now to Elijah's journey, we carry this truth with us. The divine mission is not only upheld by prophets on the mountaintops, but also by ordinary believers whose faithfulness makes their witness possible. Gratitude for these hidden partners in the work of God is itself an act of worship, a recognition that providence often flows through simple human kindness. Ministry is a profound calling, one that is a wide spectrum of experiences, moments of exhilaration, seasons of struggle, and many days that fall somewhere in between. Along the sacred path, every minister eventually discovers a crucial truth: not every battle is worth fighting. This lesson finds a powerful echo in the biblical story of Elijah, remembered not only for his boldness, but also for his discernment. His flight from Jezebel, following his triumph on Mount Carmel, reveals the delicate rhythm of ministry, the interplay of engagement and withdrawal, of action and retreat. Ministry moves with a rhythm much like music. It is not only the notes that matter, but also the silences between them, which give depth and shape to the whole song. To serve well, ministers must learn to recognize when to step forward and when to pause. Elijah's story underscores this truth. After calling down fire from heaven and defeating the prophets of Baal, he found himself pursued by Jezebel's rage. In that moment, he did not rush forward into confrontation, but withdrew to the wilderness. This was not cowardice, but an act of preservation and a chance to seek God's voice afresh. The book of Esther offers another example. Mordecai's counsel to Esther was to act at the right moment, with discernment and awareness of the larger consequences. Ministry often requires the same careful weighing, knowing when to speak, when to remain silent, and when to wait. For emerging leaders, the lesson is clear. Ministry is not about speaking the right word at every opportunity. It is about cultivating presence, listening deeply, and discerning the path forward with care. This involves understanding the environment in which you serve, the unique challenges your community faces, and the broader ecclesial context in which you minister. Bread for the journey. When we meet Elijah in Scripture, we see a prophet of fire and courage, a man who stood boldly against idolatry and called the people of Israel back to God. His story carries moments of breathtaking triumph, but also moments of crushing despair. In 1 Kings 19, we encounter him at one of his lowest moments. After the glorious victory on Mount Carmel, where God answered his prayer with fire from heaven, Elijah finds himself pursued by Queen Jezebel's threats. The fearless prophet suddenly becomes a frightened fugitive, running for his life. The contrast is stark. One day, victory and confidence. The next, exhaustion and fear. In his weariness, Elijah prays the kind of prayer many of us know all too well. "It is enough now, O Lord. Take away my life." His words carry the weight of someone who has given everything and feels he has nothing left. And here is the beauty of God's response. He does not rebuke Elijah for his weakness. He does not shame him for his exhaustion. Instead, He sends an angel with something as ordinary and as holy as bread and water. "Arise and eat," the angel says, "for the journey is too great for you." It's a picture of God's provision that speaks volume, not abundance, but sufficiency, not a banquet, but enough for the road ahead. And that's often how God provides for us, faithfully giving us what we need at the moment, even if it doesn't look like what we expected. For anyone weighed down by discouragement, Elijah's story is a reminder. God sees, God notices, God sustains. His provision is often hidden, but never absent. Trusting in divine providence. Elijah's wilderness moment draws us into the bigger truth of divine providence. Life rarely unfolds the way we plan. Financial strain, illness, disappointment, and the weight of responsibility can all leave us asking, am I strong enough for this? Will I make it through? Ministry carries its share of these questions. For young priests and emerging leaders, the expectations can feel overwhelming. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you quietly wonder whether you are truly equipped for the calling placed before you. Yet the scriptures whisper reassurance. God's providence does not fail. Just as he reassured Peter when he asked, "What about us? We have left everything to follow you." So too he reassures every servant today, your sacrifices are not unseen, and your labor is not in vain. Divine providence doesn't always show itself in spectacular ways. Sometimes it's as simple as a supportive parishioner, a quiet moment in prayer when your spirit feels lighter, or an unexpected word of encouragement that arrives just when you need it most. These are the bread and water of our journey, the daily reminders that God equips those he calls. If we are honest, retreat often carries a negative connotation. It can feel like failure, like stepping back means we've lost ground. But Elijah's story shows us otherwise. His retreat into the wilderness was the space he encountered God afresh, the place where his strength was renewed. In our modern world, filled with noise and relentless demands, retreat is more necessary than ever. Jesus himself modeled this. Time and again, he withdrew from the crowds, not because he lacked courage, but because he knew the deep strength that comes only from quiet with the Father. For young ministers, these pauses are not luxuries but necessities. When they allow themselves the grace of retreat, they plant seeds of resilience for the future. In those hidden moments with God, their roots sink deeper, drawing nourishment for the challenges that inevitably come. What is gained in retreat becomes wisdom for the journey, equipping them to guide and encourage those they serve. Elijah's story reminds us that God's providence rarely comes as we expect. It may not always look like abundance. It may be a simple loaf of bread, a cup of water, or a word of encouragement at just the right time. Yet it is always enough. God knows our needs more intimately than we do, and his sustenance meets us at the very point of our weakness. For young priests especially, this lesson is vital. You're stepping into a sacred legacy, one that stretches back through prophets, apostles, and centuries of faithful servants. The challenges you face today are not isolated struggles. They are part of a much larger story. Every prayer offered, every mass celebrated, every act of service, seen or unseen, threads you into that divine tapestry. To grasp the heart of a priest's calling, we must remember a truth woven through scripture. Strength is not measured by possessions. The Levitical priest of the Old Testament owned no land, no inheritance. Their portion was the Lord himself. Elijah lived this reality too. fed not by his resources, but by the provision of God in ravens, widows, and angels. Jesus deepened this truth, teaching his followers that life does not consist in what we possess, but in who holds us. The strength of a priest is not in abundance, but in surrender, not in wealth, but in the quiet power of dependence. True richness is found in the one who provides bread for the journey and grace for the call. How young priests and emerging leaders can apply these principles. For young priests and leaders, the path can often feel overwhelming. Expectations are high, and the responsibilities can feel unrelenting. Yet, the way forward becomes clearer when viewed through the flow of engagement, reflection, and discernment. The first task is to develop a keen awareness of the environment. Ministry requires deep engagement with the pattern of the community. Consider a pastor leading a parish in transition, perhaps after a change in leadership or during a demographic shift. To react impulsively to every challenge is to risk exhaustion. Discernment requires stepping back, weighing implications, and responding with intention. Take the example of a young vicar in England arriving at a parish divided by political tension. Instead of plunging into the fray with immediate statement, he organizes informal gatherings, afternoons over tea, and shared work in community gardens. These moments are not wasted time, they are foundations of trust. This is not avoidance, but listening, and his restraint becomes the soil from which meaningful engagement later grows. Or consider Nigeria with its different cultures and traditions. A young pastor leading a meeting on a new church project may feel strongly about one proposal, only to find the majority leaning elsewhere. The instinct may be to press harder, to persuade, but by stepping back, listening carefully, and respecting the process, the pastor gains credibility. Later, when he returns with a revised proposal that incorporates what he has observed, his voice carries far greater weight. These rhythms of engagement and withdrawal are not innate, they are cultivated over time. Experience, reflection, prayer, and the wisdom of mentors all help shape the instinct needed for such discernment. Practical strategies for discernment. 1. Cultivate self-awareness. Before responding to conflict or pressure, pause and examine your own heart. Are you angry, defensive, exhausted? Sometimes the most faithful choice is to retreat briefly, allowing clarity to emerge before acting. 2. Listen actively. True engagement begins with listening. In conversations, especially intense ones, speak less and observe more. Take notes, watch body language, hear the undercurrents. Listening does not diminish your perspective, it enriches the dialogue and builds trust. 3. Establish boundaries. The ministry carries endless demands. Without healthy limits, even the most devoted leader will burn out. Boundaries are not selfish. They are what allow you to remain present and effective when engagement is required. 4. Seek guidance. No one descends well in isolation. Lean on prayer, mentors, and trusted peers. Sometimes clarity comes only when you allow others to share the burden of discernment with you. 5. Adapt to context. Every community is unique. What bears fruit in one setting may falter in another. Enter each context with humility. Learn its rhythms and let your engagement and withdrawal be shaped by the culture in which you serve. 6. Practicing patience. It is vital to remember that ministry is a marathon, not a sprint. Some changes and initiatives take time to cultivate. When faced with pressing issues, allow yourself the grace of patience. Sometimes remaining silent today can yield fruitful engagement tomorrow. As we embrace the rhythm of ministry, we begin to see it for what it truly is, a multifaceted journey. Elijah shows us that there are times to stand and proclaim with boldness, and times when stepping back into quiet, into prayer, into retreat becomes the wiser act. Withdrawal is not defeat. It is often the very space where renewal, reflection, and redirection are born. For young priests and emerging leaders, this truth is especially vital. You stand at a pivotal juncture, navigating the complexities of modern ministry across cultures and contexts that can be both inspiring and overwhelming. Learning the rhythm of engagement and withdrawal is about clarity. It is about finding the cadence of leadership that allows you to serve with both courage and humility. Often, it is the reflections that come in whispers that shape our most meaningful words when we finally speak. It is the stillness of listening that gives weight to our actions when we step forward. By cultivating patience, by practicing deep listening, and by daring to pause when the world insists on rushing, new leaders discover the freedom to engage with confidence and grace. Sometimes, the most strategic move is not to charge ahead, but to breathe, to wait, and to allow the Spirit to lead the next step. In this, we join a timeless wisdom that leadership is not a frantic push, but a dance. And in this dance, there are moments to take the lead and moments to step back, watch, and wait for the music of the Spirit to call us forward once again. As we come to the end of chapter 12, the journey of leadership reveals itself as a sacred rhythm, a movement between action and stillness, courage and patience, speaking and listening. For it is often in the quiet pauses of discernment that the Spirit shapes the words we will one day speak and the paths we will one day walk. May every young priest and emerging leader learn not merely to lead with urgency, but to walk gently enough to hear the music of grace calling them forward. And so, chapter 12 comes to a close. Thank you for listening. This work was written by Father Don Onyinye Chukwedo and voiced by Onyes Media.